Okay, Merrick, it's your life.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Perth East Council, this 19th day of April. I'd like to call our meeting to order, and if I could please get everyone to bow their head for a moment of reflection. Thank you. We do have one addition to the agenda tonight, so I'll turn it over to Eric so he can tell us about that.
Thank you. So yeah, we do have the addition of a closed section pursuant to section 239 of the Municipal Act, for the reasons being the security of the property of the municipality or local board, and litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board.
Okay, thanks, Eric. Does anyone else have anything they wish to add to the agenda? If not, we have a motion that the agenda as amended for April 19, 2022 meeting of council of the Township of Perth East be approved as received. We need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Amanda. All in favor? Carried. Okay, if you have pecuniary interest, you can disclose that now or as the meeting goes along. Consent agenda, we have 18 items in our consent agenda. Is there anything anyone has a question about or would like pulled? No, okay. So we have a motion that items 5.1.1 to 5.1.18 is set out on the consent agenda for April 19, 2022 regular meeting of council be received for information, and that the minutes of April 5th, 2022 regular council meeting be adopted. Could I have a mover? Moved by Jerry. Second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have two delegations tonight. I'll just remind the delegations that we allow 10 minutes for them to speak and a few minutes for questions. And if you get too long-winded, I will ask for you to wrap it up. So with that, our first delegation is Jeff Barton from Energy and Asset Service Manager of Royal Authority Services. Welcome, Jeff, and now the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm going to share my screen here and let me know if you cannot see that. It should be up now.
Yes, it's there.
Okay, perfect. All right. So thank you very much for inviting me tonight to address this council and talk to this municipality about one of our most popular programs lately. On behalf of AMO and LAS, thank you. And it's great to be able to do this. I haven't done a presentation to a council for 2 years now, so it's great to see all these smiling faces on the film and maybe or on the screen. Maybe in next time it'll be in person. So just a bit of an introduction to myself. My name is Jeff Barton. I'm the Energy and Asset Services Manager with LAS, and I'll get into a bit of who LAS is, and then talk about the Canoe Procurement Group, which is the program that I was asked to update you on tonight. So let me just. So who is LAS? We are the business services arm of AMO, and we were incorporated in 1992. Our mandate is to work with Ontario municipalities, and we do that through cooperative procurement efforts. So we go out for procurement on your behalf, and we provide services and programs, including training and other innovative programs and services as requested by municipalities across the province. We are a not-for-profit, as I mentioned, governed by a board of directors made up of your peers. So that includes elected officials and municipal staff, treasurers, and other staff of that caliber, I guess. And our programs are used by 389 municipalities as of the end of 2021. And that includes, or in addition, 34 public sector agencies from the rest of the MUSH sector, so universities, schools, hospitals, and even the province. We currently have several programs. We have our commodities, which act to stabilize utility costs by giving predictable rates. We have our administrative programs, which help to improve corporate efficiency, reduce costs, and protect staff and residents from unexpected expenses. We have the energy and assets, of which I'm in charge. And the energy is for those who are working towards an energy efficient municipality, includes training, planning, and lighting upgrades. And then our assets, which leverage collective procurement for municipal products and services. And tonight I'm going to talk specifically about the Canoe Procurement Group. In terms of what programs Perth East uses, right now they have used the energy training program. In 2019, we actually hosted an energy training workshop at your rec complex. They are a subscriber to the energy planning tool, which is used to track energy commodity, tracking utilities for your different commodities for reporting to 50718, which is the similar to the Green Energy Act. And you have used our road assessment service as well back in 2020, which is also one of those jointly procured programs that we've created for this sector. In addition, we have several, we have partnerships with AMO. The digital toolkit came out of a governance task force that was convened in 2016. And basically, we recommend to partner with providers of key technologies to help with your digital transformation. And these are related both to daily operations and citizen-facing services. So there's several listed there. And then we also have partnered with One Investment, of which Perth East currently invests through our One Investment program. So we partner with MFOA, the Finance Officers Association, to maximize investments. So that's a bit of a background of what who LAS is and what we do. But I'm here to talk to you today about the Canoe Procurement Group. So some may be wondering, what is group buying? And group buying is cooperative purchasing that leverages economy of scale for the benefit of multiple buyers. So LAS has partnered with our municipal associations across Canada to offer a purchasing option that's now known as the Canoe Procurement Group. So that saves municipalities like Perth East the time and expense of having to procure for similar products on their own. So I mentioned it was created by municipal associations across Canada, and you can see on the map, the blue provinces and territories are users of this program, and each association delivers the program to their municipalities in their respective provinces. So out in Alberta, for example, it would be RMA or Rural Municipalities of Alberta. In Manitoba, it's Association of Municipalities of Manitoba Municipalities, and in Ontario, it's AMO or LAS. So we cover most of Canada, and that represents a collective buying power of 5,000 plus organizations, which is really great buying power, and it really does benefit our municipalities. The focus of Canoe Procurement Group is on municipal products and services, though it is open to the entire public sector. How it works is we do a transparent RFP in partnership with all our other municipal associations. Bid documents and all contract documents are available for review. If they are not posted on the website, then it means we just haven't got to them yet, and they can be requested and we will send them out. That being said, the RFP is fully compliant with trade agreements, which are in place in Canada, and they are overseen by full-time procurement staff who work for Canoe. So some of the advantages I've listed here, save time and save money, but really what it gets down to is it's a quick purchase process using national accounts. I'll get to where you can buy from shortly. In terms of there's 5,000 plus organizations, so that brings economy of scale, which results in better pricing. And you have your choice of products or vendors in different categories. So you can, where this really comes into play and where the program really shines, for instance, is if a municipality is looking at buying a fire truck, they don't necessarily have to have every T crossed and I dotted to know what kind of fire truck to buy. They can go work directly with a vendor to specify and get the truck that exactly meets their needs. And there is no game playing on the RFP where someone may say, well, you never spec that, so we're not going to include that in the price. This is truly customized to meet your needs. The other benefit is small to medium municipalities, they typically get the short end of the stick when it comes to pricing. You may not get the same pricing that Toronto does, for example, if you go out for an RFP on your own. However, under the Canoe Procurement Group, because we've got so many involved, the price is right across the board, regardless of your size or location. There are no minimum purchases under this contract. In fact, if you don't want to buy, that's fine. You don't have to. There's no binding contracts or obligation to purchase. If you decide you just want to shop and try and find out pricing and compare it against what you know, by all means, you can do that. And there's no membership fees. So we don't charge a fee to you to be able to talk to the vendors or see the contracts. This is all very open and transparent. So the question you may be asking is, can Perth East participate in a program of this nature? And so I can tell you that the Perth East bylaws allow for participation in this type of group. So in your bylaw section 7.7, you do allow for cooperative procurement. In addition, the Canadian Free Trade Agreement, which is a government document for public procurement in Canada, it allows for this, for public sector agencies to participate in group buying. So Article 504, Section 5 through 9, it allows for group procurement. In particular, you may be wondering, well, what about the procurement? Am I still responsible even though I had no input into the selection process? Under the CFTA Article 504, Clause 8, when a procuring entity procuring through a buying group has little or no control over the procurement process, it is not required to ensure that the procurement is consistent with CFTA. So basically, it defers the procurement process to the procuring entity. In this case, it would be Canoe Procurement Group. So it defers all liability, and the municipality is not liable if the purchase is in default of CFTA. So the liability rests solely on Canoe Procurement Group and your association to make sure that we're following the rules. On the screen, you'll see typical steps involved in a procurement. And the Canoe program basically helps you to be able to skip from step 2 or 3 all the way to step 10. We post a tender on Merck's and on our website, along with all the other associations who advertise. We do list every single municipality and municipal, board or association in the province in our tender, so that vendors know that these are all potential buyers through this program. And that is in accordance with trade agreements. The bid evaluation and award is also shown. We can provide those documents. And again, bid documents and contracts are always available for you to review. So basically, the advantage to Perth East would be reduced administrative time and costs due to the procurement process. So you would be able to skip that and buy immediately. So in Ontario, there are currently 260 organizations, mostly municipalities, who use the program for their purchases. And we're constantly adding new vendors through RFPs. So right now we have 202 contracts with 45 different categories, everything from paper clips to fire trucks and heavy equipment. And I do know that several municipalities this spring are buying like front end loaders and hi-hos and really big ticket items through the program. So if there is a question about that, we can certainly put staff in touch with those municipalities to find out how the program worked for them. So I'll put that offer out there. I mentioned earlier that I'd talk about how to buy this equipment, and basically any products that are offered through Canoe, wherever possible, you work with your local retailers for service and support. Dealers, for instance, are able to pass along national pricing under the program. The contract is normally with the manufacturer, who allows that cost to be passed along, or the cost savings to be passed along through local dealers or local businesses. If one of your preferred suppliers is not in the program, check with us to see if they're an option under the current contracts. As I mentioned, we're constantly adding new vendors through RFPs and double checking that the contracts they have are available in Canada. There are times where some vendors or some manufacturers or suppliers say, no, we don't want to be part of the Canoe program. In that case, if that's a vendor that you want to work with, you may have to run your own procurement. So, but we have several different options in each category. So, so I'd encourage you to check those out too, because they are pre-qualified, and we do have set pricing in place. So on behalf of AMO and LAS, I'd like to thank you for your attention. I'm going pretty quick here, but I wanted to leave room for questions. Thanks for allowing us the opportunity to present this opportunity to you. And at this point, I'd like to open up for any questions council or staff may have.
Okay, thanks, Jeff. Are there any questions? Amanda? Could the screen please go back where I can see everybody? Go ahead, Amanda.
Jeff, thanks for your presentation. Just a couple questions for me, and I apologize if you covered this off. I just don't recall you speaking to it. So could you give us like maybe a sense of how many rural versus urban municipalities are part of the program? And do you have a list of sort of local-ish to us municipalities that are currently part of your program?
You've got me there. I don't have a breakdown, but anecdotally, I can tell you that it is more the small and medium who use our programs, small and medium municipalities. The larger ones, they have a fairly robust procurement department, and they're usually slower at coming on to using the program. However, I can tell you Toronto uses it, Ottawa uses it, Brampton uses it. So those are large ones. And then in this area, you've stumped me there. I don't have that list handy to me.
Okay, Becky?
I believe West Perth has used it.
Thank you.
Thanks. Amanda?
Or just further, and this is more perhaps a question for staff. So, you know, we currently do some procurement with like the county and some of our other local municipalities. What would be, I guess, the difference between what we currently do versus this? And if we were to move forward with, you know, looking at something like this, would that take away from what we currently do with like the county and some of our other neighboring municipalities?
Go ahead, Rhonda.
Good evening, everyone. Just to comment on this type of procurement, it is already allowed in our procurement policy, and we've actually used this type of procurement before when we've done provincial buying with the provincial buying group. The name escapes me right now, but we've used it a couple of times, mostly for computer purchases and software. I'll get right back to you.
Okay, while we wait on Rhonda, there is a report too in the under 8.4 part 1. We're going to talk about a bit more then as well, but we'll let Rhonda finish up here.
My apologies.
That's okay.
Just rushed in the door. I wasn't real prepared for this room, but anyways, so we are allowed to use it on our procurement policy. This is just another option for managers. They have that option right now, and Canoe has been around for a while. We haven't used this avenue before, but before we used it, we wanted to make sure that council was aware of the process so that they were comfortable with it if and when a manager chose to use it, and then you saw it going through in the council report.
Okay, any other questions, Jeff?
Yeah, could I respond to Councillor Broadhagen on who else is using it?
Sure.
I did pull up a list, and I can give you a sense of who in this area in case you want to reach out. So we have Woolwich, Wilmot Fire, Wellington North, Wellington County, South Huron, Puslinch, Perth South is using it, Norwich, North Dumfries, Luke and Biddulph. I know they're not right next door, but they're close by. So Guelph and Hermosa, that just gives you a bit of an idea of the size and type of municipalities that are using it.
Okay, thanks. Andrew?
Thanks, Mr. Barton, for I think we looked at this. I remember having a training session last term, I think it was, with Treasury on about this LAS stuff. So it's kind of percolating along. So I have a couple of questions. Is there any programs or anything we need to be part of to any accounting programs or any environmental programs that municipalities need to be part of to use this system?
No, it's open for you to use regardless of what programs you're using at LAS. I think if that's your question, we don't require you to be part of program A to use program B. They're separate and distinct.
My second question, thanks very much. I backtracking here and I stopped reading the Sourcewell website after I saw a few 300-page federal reports. How do they fit into all this? I know you guys are an MPO. Are they working for free too, or is there any administrative cost tied to this?
So Sourcewell is the contracts that Sourcewell offers. Some of them are offered in Canada, and Canoe is the, I guess, Canadian arm of Sourcewell. So often when Sourcewell puts out an RFP, Canoe will co-post that RFP, and LAS participates in that as well. The way it works is, I guess the vendors will offer a small percentage of sales, say 0.5% of their sale, or $200 for a vehicle or something along those lines, which gets split between Sourcewell and Canoe. And those, because we are not for profit, those fees go back into helping us to promote the program and develop new programs for our municipal sector.
Oh, thank you.
Anyone else with questions? Nope, seeing no questions. Thank you very much for coming to present. We really appreciate it. Council will deal with this under our new business tonight. And like I said, we do have a report from finance on this some more. So we thank you again, and we hope you have a great night. You're welcome to stay and be at the meeting. And if you want to leave, we do understand that as well. So
I will watch this on YouTube, but thank you very much, Your Worship, and council and staff for inviting me along today.
okay, great. Thanks again. Okay, we're going to move to our second delegation, and we have Warren Howard with us tonight from the Alma Mornington Concerned Citizens updating municipal zoning related to wind turbines. And Warren, welcome to Perth East, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. I think some of you know me. I'm a former municipal councillor from North Perth, and the Alma Mornington Concerned Citizen was a group that was quite active in the 2011-2012, I guess 2014 period, when we were dealing with a wind turbine project. It's still sort of there, but it's active primarily on Facebook. And I'm also involved in Wind Concerns Ontario, which is a coordinating body for all the groups. Is it Eric was going to put my slides up? I'm terrible at doing slides. So moving on to the first slide after the title page. Just to give you a quick history, the major projects that went into a formal project stage with contracts and public hearings was the Invenergy Conestoga project, which included sites both in Alma and Mornington. There was 26 turbines, 69 megawatts. But there was such strong opposition in the community that it was terminated because they couldn't actually get enough qualified sites. There was other projects where they were trying to get sites further south. I'm thinking of Long Line 55 was the thing. Amanda may correct me. And they were quite active, but they also didn't enter into the formal stage. Sometime around 2014, Perth East Council endorsed the resolution declaring that it was an unwilling host for wind turbines. But that really wasn't a statement of that had any real effect. It was a political statement because municipalities at that time had no power to control wind turbines. Next slide. But the Planning Act was amended in 2019, and changes were made by the government that allowed municipalities to control wind turbines. And the vehicle to state your preferences is zoning bylaws. And when anyone starts a new project, they have to go and consult with the zoning bylaws on the books of the municipality that they're proposing to put this in. And these bylaws, when they because there've been a lot of appeals about terms of bylaws, the bylaws related to wind turbines can't be appealed. Now, when you do zoning bylaws, of course, it gets into setbacks. And even though I think it's generally acknowledged that we're falling behind other jurisdictions around the world, and the evidence is they're not working, these setbacks have not been updated. So that leaves the municipalities free to set larger setbacks, whatever they want. And I'm here tonight asking council to support updating both the official plan and creating some appropriate zoning bylaws. Next slide. This is becoming an important issue because the energy market is evolving. The whole thing had been quite dormant, I guess, because there was no need for capacity from about 2016 through to about now, but things are changing rapidly. There is Darlington, one of the nuclear plants is being refurbished, it's offline, and Pickering's being closed. And a lot of the carbon emission activity is being achieved through use of electrification. So in January of this year, there was a new RFP issued for the first time in a long time by the provincial government looking for 1,000 megawatts. And that's the way it's worded, that dispatchable is the technical term. It means that when they ask for it, you have to provide it. And that's essentially cannot be satisfied by wind turbines. But industries and cities are also developing as new markets for power. The province is running a certification program for renewable projects, which will say this one is actually going to generate this amount of benefit in terms of carbon reduction. The city of Ottawa, I'm not sure how much you followed that, they're going, how to be polite, they're quite aggressive in their program. And they're planning complete elimination of carbon, and everything's going to be run through electrification. And the proposal was 711 wind turbines, which were rejected within the municipality and then weren't too welcome in the surrounding municipalities. So they're not kind of looking all across the province of Ontario. And they have this organization called the Ottawa Renewable Energy Cooperative, which is their procurement agency. And they're in the process of buying 2 wind turbine projects, one in Huron County and one in Bruce County. Well, they're single turbine projects, they're small, but it's sort of, they want to get into wind. They're also actively, it's cooperative, and they're seeking investors all across South Ontario, including in Perth County, for looking for people who want to invest in renewable energy projects. We're seeing leasing activity being reported along Lake Huron, Dunwich, and around Leamington. At least I haven't heard anything from this area, but it is going on. So while municipalities got the power in 2019 to change and control bylaws or wind turbines through bylaws, it wasn't that critical until now, as things are changing. Next slide. when you go and look at the current Perth County official plan, I was actually shocked when I looked at it. It actually encourages the development of wind turbines. It talks about great economic benefits for both the province and the county. And it allows wind turbines on prime agricultural land, citing a provincial policy statement that's now out of date. I think, in my view, it has to be completely rewritten. It's not aligned with the current provincial direction. It ignores learnings, and it does not reflect, I don't think, the views of most residents. But the plan as it's structured would allow a project to proceed with no municipal input. Next slide. So the changes I'm suggesting for the official plan, and I'm cognizant of it's being revised and there's reluctance to do one-offs. But I think it's important that we at least consider deleting section 17.9, which is the core of the problems with wind energy. Just amend the official plan, deleting that section, and so that the official plan will be silent on that. And going forward, you can rewrite it so you're truly focused on prime agricultural land and saying things like wind turbines aren't compatible with that. There's also a requirement for renewable energy systems. I wouldn't put in wind turbines, but there's lots of things that you can do. The other key thing I would suggest is that your goal is to support local needs, not Ottawa. And that's the way the provincial policy statement is written. You can make statements like that. Next slide. So in terms of the zoning rules, which you can't do with the current plan, I would definitely prohibit wind turbines in prime agricultural land there. Hopefully there's enough people with agricultural experience on this council that they don't have to go into too much depth on that. I would also set noise setbacks that are more compatible based on what has been learned from other areas. And the standard that we're recommending is 2,000 meters, and that's from a receptor. And then you can define receptor. The difference between the existing setback and the 2,000 meter setback is that it includes low frequency noise, not just audible noise. And also establish a setback from property lines, which is a problem now. It's blade length plus 10 meters. So ice throw and all of that stuff is ending up on the roads. And 1,200 meters setback from property lines or land owned by the developer would contain it within there. Next slide. I don't know how I'm doing for time, but I'm up to summary. So the Perth County plan, I don't think aligns with community views. Municipalities, though, can't do anything about it because they would conflict with the official plan, and the action, we need with things happening on existing projects, we need some action. So I've presented this to the North Perth Council last week, and there's been two versions of this presentation done, but I am tentatively going to be on the agenda next Thursday at Perth County, delivering essentially the same message, though that I think I have to be approved to be added to the agenda. So I will stop there. There's some appendices there, and open up for discussion.
Thanks, Warren. Any questions? Well, this is going to join us too if you have questions about planning. Daryl?
Yeah, no, good. Thanks there. It's I appreciate your work here. It's definitely a lot of solid information around the audible noise and such. I agree 100%. And it seems the data that does come forward, it seems solid from what I read. in the States, they have a pretty organized group that's even recognized by the federal government. And they seem to be doing a little more in a lot of states, trying to keep these wind farms in the middle of nowhere. Where here in Ontario, our governments don't seem on board the same. Am I maybe wrong there? It just seems money talks. It's frustrating. And no, it's interesting for sure. The water is another thing, eh? The vibrations cracking the underground and the shale in the water, that's something that's been in the Western Ontario farmer a lot. And that gets buried an awful lot, and it's frustrating. We've fractured a lot of water tables with these wind turbines from the vibrations that they give off and the twisting. But it's interesting. We're going to see where this goes with all this electrical push, because this provincial government's been up and down on this particular one, canceled projects, and now they're right in. So no, I appreciate your work. It's good we have local members of the community doing this. This is great. I really appreciate it, Warren. Thanks.
Well, yeah, in 10 minutes, I couldn't give you the full litany of what's wrong with wind turbines. But I think the key point is that it is within control of a municipality at this time. And you can move on bylaws, and you can just say, thanks, but no thanks to in Perth East or in Perth County, depending how far the bylaw covers.
Okay, Jeremy?
I was part of the group, I don't know what's that, 10 years ago, there's maybe 4 of us that are on council still, that we did make that statement about the not being a willing host, and feel pretty strongly it's likely still unanimous. I'm not sure, but it was definitely a contentious issue back then. Melissa, the question I have for you is, Warren's made a few statements on here about, you know, who's kind of in control of this process, that the official plan of the county would sort of supersede anything we would do. Can you confirm that that's kind of how the process would go, that the official plan would need to allow or disallow these things, or allow us to further regulate them? Can you comment on what Warren said about that?
Yes, thank you, Councillor Matheson, and good evening, everyone. The official plan is currently in the process of being updated, and we're slowly tackling chapter by chapter. This is one of those chapters that obviously needs to be updated. However, at the moment, like we do have fairly extensive policies which deal with like a number of matters in terms of how to mitigate these potential impacts from these wind turbines. They're also being classified, what a proponent has to do, and like a number of things in this specific section 17.9, I think that's the number. So at the moment, every wind turbine project requires a site plan approval. In many instances, a study, showing the impacts, noise impacts from these proposals, as well as a full-blown zoning amendment. That's what the OP says at the moment. And of course, like moving forward, we will be looking at, best practices and examples from other municipalities. But like I said, that section has to be updated first, and then whatever is in the official plan can trickle down to the zoning bylaw. Now, Perth East obviously has a lot of say, because each and every application, will be brought forward. Like a zoning amendment will of course be discussed, and everybody in the vicinity, like 120 meters, all properties within 120 meters are being notified. I was able only to find 2 examples in Perth East. Mind you, our zoning bylaw is not fully up to date, but I found 2 examples going back like several years. And there's one wind turbine in an agricultural area, and then another one in HVC, which is Hamlet Village Commercial. So those were the only 2 examples that I could find. Hopefully this answers your question, Councilor Matheson. Thank you.
Well, if I could just comment, I mean, what I find most concerning about the current official plan is the statement that wind turbine developments are compatible with agricultural land. And by the time you pour those truckloads of 20s of truckloads of cement, which never leaves the land, all the roads are created, all the cables are put in, you are permanently destroying prime agricultural land. And it's no longer seen as compatible. And it's just how badly out of date the Perth County plan is. And what the control measures in the plan are typical of what hasn't worked. We've seen it not working when the provinces have been operating it. And I think you need to be, I'm arguing you should be more aggressive and just let's recognize 2,000 meters as the setback and you'll solve most of your problems there.
Okay, Andrew?
Thank you, Mayor. And maybe this is something for Planner Gassick for when we discuss this in new business later. Would it be helpful, say, a local municipality, can we put a moratorium on this type of development until the OP can be updated to meet the provincial policy statement? Just it seems like there's a bit of urgency on this, or is that even a possibility to do that at our level?
Through your worship, I think that would be like a moratorium, outright moratorium would be in conflict with the official plan. The official plan does encourage, allows for these structures. I wouldn't say encourages them, but allows for these structures to be located, in several like designations, like agricultural settlement areas, but calls for like a number of studies and calls for mitigation measures and promotes actually wind turbines to be located not on prime agricultural lands, but lands that are of lower category. So we have to, zoning provisions have to conform to the official plan. So until the official plan is changed and more direction is provided, like we have to stick with what we have. And then of course there's one policy item that says that local municipalities can enact their own zoning bylaws and specify like various setbacks pertaining to wind turbine projects, which we don't have at the moment. There are no provisions pertaining to setbacks in Perth's zoning bylaw.
Thank you.
So just to follow up, so I understand that we probably should be putting some zoning setbacks in place before the official plan is all done to help in Perth East if we're not willing to host them. Is that correct?
Correct, Madam Mayor. Yes, we currently don't have any provisions in place for setbacks, like standard setback provisions, such as, 500 meters, 1,000 meters, stuff of that nature. But we could certainly enact those provisions. Obviously, there would have to be some kind of research done to, look into best practices. But the current OP allows for that already.
All right, thank you. Anyone else with questions? Seeing no questions. Thank you very much, Warren, for coming. We appreciate you bringing us up to date on the wind turbines, and we will deal with this once we get to new business. And
well, thank you for your time.
You're quite welcome. You're welcome to stay, or if you want to leave, we understand that as well. But have a good night. Okay, we're going to move on in our meeting, and now we're moving to a public meeting. I declare this virtual public meeting to be open. This virtual public meeting is being held to consider a proposed zoning bylaw amendment affecting property currently owned by Van Meer Farms Limited, Legal address, concession 11 West Lot 5, Ellis Ward, 4188, line 46. Excuse me. This virtual meeting is an opportunity for the township to advise the public of the purpose and intent of the amendment and receive their input prior to considering adoption of an implementing bylaw. If a bylaw is adopted to implement the zoning amendment, a notice of passing will be forwarded by prepaid first-class mail to various agencies of interest and others who have requested notice. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the adoption of the bylaw may be filed with the clerk not later than the date stated on the notice. Any person attending this meeting who wishes to receive written notice of a bylaw passed to implement the amendment is asked to give their name and mailing address to the clerk following this meeting. No written notice, except as previously noted, will be given unless requested by email following the meeting. Due to COVID-19, the public meeting procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, April 18, 2022 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. I will now call on Perth County Planner Melissa Gassick to present the planning report and recommendations. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I hope you can see this. So tonight I will be presenting an application to rezone the land at 4188 line 46 in Perth East. The image on the right-hand side shows the extent of the rezoning amendment and the accompanying Schedule A of the Perth East zoning bylaw. The rezoning application is required as a condition of consent file B4821, which has received conditional approval to sever a dwelling that is surplus to a farming operation. The consent application was endorsed by Perth East Council on January 11th of this year and approved on January 26, 2022 by the County of Perth Manager Planning. The enlarged severance portion of the land is shown on the right-hand side. Condition number 8 requires a ZBA to rezone both the retained and severed parcels. Severed parcel where the residents will be rezoned from agricultural zone to agricultural special zone A1, while the retained farm lot will be rezoned from agricultural zone A to agricultural special zone A5. The severed portion, which is 0.35 hectares, will only be used for non-farm residential purposes, single detached dwelling, home occupations, bed and breakfast, so on, while also including applicable zoning bylaw provisions for accessory structures and uses. On the retained land, there will be prohibition on any new residential dwelling from being constructed. This site-specific rezoning ensures conformity with section 5631 of the County of Perth official plan and consistency with section 2341C of the PPS. Thank you. I would be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition of the application. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. Trevor McNeil, the agent, registered to speak with respect to the application. Good evening, Trevor. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you, Mayor Ricketts. Good evening, everybody. It's been a little while since I've talked to you, but this application is pretty straightforward. You've seen lots of these with the surplus farmhouse severances, and that were, as was pointed out by Planner Gassick, is that it's just to zone the farmland so another dwelling can't be built there, and then to recognize the severed land, keep the livestock, no livestock housing or whatever on that property as well. And it's just a condition of the severance. So pretty straightforward. Unless there's any questions from council, I try to address them as best I can.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Are there any questions from members of council? Seeing no questions, council will consider a resolution regarding the planning report recommendation following the conclusion of the virtual public meeting. Bylaw number 201-2022 to implement the approval of the zoning application will be considered later within the council agenda. The virtual public meeting is now concluded and will continue with the regular meeting of council. So we do have a motion The motion is that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report dated April 19, 2022, prepared by the planner, entitled Zoning Bylaw Amendment Number D14-Z01-2022-PE, submitted by Van Meers Farms Limited, affecting lands described as part of Lot 5, Concession 11, Ellis Ward, 4188, line 46 for information. And that council approve zoning bylaw amendment number 201-2022 as follows. Number 1, that the area shown in hatching on the attached draft zoning bylaw amendment number 201-2022 shall be removed from the agricultural zone A of bylaw number 30-1999 and shall be rezoned to the agricultural exception 1, A-1 zone on key map 30 of Schedule A to bylaw number 30-1999. The provisions of section 6.9.1 of bylaw number 30-1999 shall apply to the subject lands. And number 2, that the area shown in stripping on the attached draft zoning bylaw amendment number 201-2022 shall be removed from the agricultural zone A of bylaw number 30-1999 and shall be rezoned to the agriculture exception 5-A, A-5 zone on key map 30 of Schedule A to bylaw number 30-1999, the provisions of section 6.9.5 of bylaw number 30-1999 shall apply to the subject lands. Do we have a mover and a seconder for all that? Moved by Andrew, second by Jeremy. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Trevor. Now we'll move on to our public hearing. Council will now temporarily adjourn to sit as a committee of adjustment pursuant to section 45 of the Planning Act. I now declare this virtual public hearing open. This virtual public hearing is being held to consider an application affecting property currently owned by Roberto Esposito and described as Plan 334, Lot 172, Southeast Hope Ward. The purpose of this hearing is to give the committee and the public an opportunity to hear all interested persons with respect to the proposed application and receive their input, and for the committee to make a decision on the application. All persons attending this hearing will be given an opportunity to be heard or make a presentation. Committee members may ask questions for the purposes of clarifying the application, but are asked to withhold comments on this application until all present have been given an opportunity to be heard. Due to COVID-19, public hearing procedures have been adjusted to adhere to provincial guidelines for holding electronic meetings. Any person who wished to be heard regarding this matter was asked to register prior to this meeting by the deadline of Monday, April 18, 2022 at 12 noon with the municipal clerk. Any person who wishes to receive written notice of the decision made by the Committee of Adjustment is asked to email their name and mailing address to the Secretary Treasurer following this hearing. An appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal objecting to the decision made at this hearing may be filed with the Secretary Treasurer not later than May 9, 2022. No written notice except as previously noted will be given unless requested at this time. I will now call on Melissa Gassick, planner, to present the planning report and recommendations. Melissa, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Tonight I'm presenting an application, a minor variance application for Roberto Esposito, application 07-2022. So the applicant proposes to construct a one-story semi-detached dwelling on an existing lot with a reduced side yard setback. The existing lot is vacant in a plan of subdivision. The zoning bylaw permits as a right one single detached dwelling, a semi, one duplex, one triplex, one converted dwelling with maximum 3 units, and accessory structures. The subject land is zoned residential zone 2 or R2 under zoning bylaw 30-1999. The proposed reduction of the side yard setback from 2.4 meters, which is what's required, to down to 2.05 meters, suits the general intent and purpose of the bylaw. The proposed setback follows the general neighborhood pattern as there are several precedents on James Street with similar or smaller setbacks. In all other aspects, this proposal conforms to the provisions for the R2 zone, such as coverage, front and rear yard setback, landscaping, floor area, and building height. Thus, the proposed variance suits the general character of the neighborhood and the prevalent development pattern. The minor variance is desirable for land use and represents an opportunity to provide more housing while at the same time being suitable to the context. It is consistent with the provincial policy statement. It conforms to the official plan and suits the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and planning recommends approval. Thank you.
Thanks, Melissa. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in opposition. No one registered to make a presentation or speak in support of the application other than the applicant or the applicant's agent. The applicant or the applicant's agent did not register to make a presentation or speak with respect to the application. Are there any questions from committee members? Seeing no questions, the committee will now consider a motion regarding the application. That the Township of Perth East Committee of Adjustment received a report dated April 19, 2022, prepared by the planner, entitled Minor Variance D13-A07-2022-PE by Roberto Esposito, affecting lands described as Plan 334, Lot 172, Southeast Hope Ward, James Street, Shakespeare, for information. And that the Committee of Adjustment approved minor variance D13-A07-2022-PE submitted by Roberto Esposito, affecting lands as described above with the following conditions. Number one, that the owners obtain the necessary building permit within 2 years of the approval of the minor variance. And number two, that the owners obtain municipal numbers for the semi-detached dwellings. Do we have a mover and a seconder? Moved by Jerry. Second by Jeremy. All those in favor? Carried. I declare this virtual public hearing closed. Okay, now we're going to move on to our planning reports. We do have one. We have an application for consent to sever a lot addition by Maria Walsh. Melissa, the floor is yours.
So tonight I'll be presenting a severance application for lot addition purposes at 4474 line 34 in Perth East by Maria Walsh, the applicant. The purpose is to sever the existing southwesterly driveway limit of the subject agricultural lot so that it can be merged with a westerly adjoining residential lot located 4480 line 34. The driveway is serving the adjoining residential lot and not the subject agricultural lot. The subject land has an area of roughly 60.4 hectares and is an L-shaped through lot facing two municipal roads, line 34 and Perth line 36. The driveway is existing and the severance will legalize the current land arrangement and use of the driveway. The adjoining residential lot at 4480 line 34 will be enlarged, and thus the driveway will be incorporated. The abutting residential lot is 3,000, just over 3,750 square meters. The portion of the driveway to be severed from the agricultural lot is 374.9 meters. The severed sliver for the driveway will extend to the top of the bank of the drain, which represents a logical northerly limit, as the extent of the land beyond the driveway itself would be hard to maintain by agricultural machinery. Both the subject lot and the abutting residential lot front the MTO regulated area of line 34, and as a result, the proposal was circulated to MTO for commenting, and you have their comments in the appendix of the report. The owner will be required to obtain a no-fee permit from MTO to define the ownership of the driveway once the land is merged. So here are some images for your reference. Staff have no objection to the proposed consent to sever for lot addition purposes. Conditions of consent have been included to ensure that the proposed severed and retained lot are properly merged, and then the MTO condition is satisfied. The application is consistent with the PPS, conforms with the applicable policies of the County of Perth official plan, and represents good planning. Thank you. This concludes my presentation.
Okay, thanks, Melissa. Are there any questions for Melissa? Seeing no questions, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the report entitled Application for Consent to Sever Lot Addition Number B07-2022 by Maria Walsh, the applicant, affecting lands described as Lot 12, Concession 1, Ellis Ward, Township of Perth East, 4474, line 34, dated April 19, 2022, prepared by the County Planning Department for information, and that Council approve. Recommended that the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate approve the application for consent to sever lot addition number B07-2022 made by Maria Walsh, the applicant, subject to the following conditions. And there are 8 conditions, and I'm going to try to give you the Reader's Digest version. Number 1, that confirmation be received from a solicitor that the certificate of the official will be scanned and attached to the electronic registration of the transfer. Number 2, the Land Division Committee be provided with a description that is consistent with the application and equal to that or required for registration of the deed/transfer. Number 3, confirmation be received by the Perth County Land Division Secretary. The notice sign and sign frame posted on the subject property has been returned. Number 4, the undertaking of the receipt from a solicitor stating that the severed parcel has merged with the abutting parcel at 4480 line 34. Number 5, confirmation be received that the owner has satisfied all MTO permitting requirements pertaining to the ROW line 34 access. Number 6, confirmation from Perth East, taxes are paid in full. Number 7, confirmation from Perth East, financial requirements are met. And number 8, confirmation from Perth East that the schedule of municipal drains in the area have been reviewed and updated. And I have a mover and a seconder for that motion. Moved by Daryl, second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Great. Thanks, Melissa. If you wouldn't mind sticking around when we get to new business, there might be some questions, some more regarding the wind turbine, so that would be appreciated. Okay, so we have no reports from the CAO. We have no reports from the clerk. We do have one from finance, cooperative procurement under Perth East Procurement Bylaws 60-2016. So Rhonda, the floor is yours.
Hello. So my report is just to follow up to the last presentation and just to let council know that this type of procurement is permitted under our bylaw, as was said previously, and that it's just another tool or an option for managers to use and use the purchasing power and the pre-vetting that is done by that large organization to help us with procurements. So if there's any questions, I can try to help answer them.
Okay, any questions for Rhonda? Seeing no questions, we have a motion that the report prepared by the treasurer dated April 19, 2022, entitled Cooperative Procurement under Perth East Procurement Bylaws 60-2016 be received for information, and that council supports a Perth East membership in the Canoe Procurement Group of Canada. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Hugh. Any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Anything else, Rhonda?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We have no reports from Public Works, no reports from the Building Department. Then we move to Recreation. We have the multi-flooring tender results. Becky, the floor is yours.
Thank you. So as council is aware, we had approved, or council had approved the purchase and replacement of the floor in the community center. Staff are recommending that the tender be awarded to Advantage Sport for the Omnisport multiflex flooring. The CBO and myself completed evaluations of the submitted tenders. The evaluation process considered meeting of the requested specifications, warranty. The Advantage Sport provides a 25-year factory warranty on the wear and the tear, on the wear layer, and defective coverage. The quality of the product, based on the product specifications, we determined that the Omnisport's multiflex flooring from Advantage was superior to the others. In contacting the references from the tenders, the Omnisport flooring received very good comments with regards to the quality, the durability, and customer service provided by Advantage Sport. Those were from City of Mississauga, Halton District School Board, and the Waterloo Catholic School Board, all who highly recommended Advantage Sport. Waterloo Catholic School Board is now using the Advantage Sport flooring as a single source now. They've been using it for over 8 years, I believe it was, and are just extremely happy with their product. The tendered amount, as Council can see in the report, is higher than the highest of the bids submitted, but the project is under budget by approximately $28,000. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Okay, thanks, Becky. Any questions for Becky? See no questions. We do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the RCS-2022-01 multi-sports flooring tender results prepared by the Recreation and Community Service Manager dated April 5, 2022 for information. And that Council award the RSC 2022-01 multi-sports flooring project to Advantage Sports for the tendered amount of $62,169 plus HST. I think that should be dated April 19th, correct? Not April 5th. Right. Going backwards. Anyway, anyone that's, I need a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Amanda, second by Andrew. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Anything else, Becky?
No, that's everything. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. We have no report from fire. We have 3 items from correspondence, and the first item is from Deb Bell, Shakespeare Community Athletic Association. They're going to have their fish fry this year on June 11th. They're requesting temporary road closure. Is there any questions anyone has on their request? If not, we do have a motion that the Council of the Township of Perth East receive the correspondence from Deb Bell, Shakespeare and Community Athletic Association, received March 31st, 2022, regarding requests for temporary road closure, 75th Annual Field Day and Fish Fry, June 11, 2022, for information. That Council approved the request from Shakespeare and Community Athletic Association regarding the 75th Annual Field Day and Fish Fry Parade route starting on Thompson Street, north on Galt Street, east on William Street, south on Byron Street, west on Andrews Street, north on Trishelle Street, west on Fraser Street, south on Galt Street, and return to Shakespeare Optimus Hall. And that the certificate of insurance provided by the Shakespeare and Community Athletic Association stated that the Corporation of the Township of Perth East was added as an additional insured, but only with respects to their intent in the operation of the named insured. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Jerry, second by Andrew. Is there any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. The second item is from Penny Steckley, and it's the Milverton Girl Guides, and they wish to camp at Mornington Centennial Park, May 27th, May 29th. And I'm going to let Becky just make a couple comments on this request. Becky?
Yes, thank you. As council may remember, the Girl Guides have come to us before in the past to do their camping program out there and earn their badges. It's not something that we typically allow is the camping, and that is why there is a formal request in front of you for this evening.
Okay, are there any questions of this? Daryl?
Is this something that we need to look at for potential bylaw in the event of special occasions that we have, bylaw in place that we will consider our parks for the purpose of a Girl Guide, etc., maybe a church camping that, we're just doing a one-off here and we're okay with it, I'm sure. But is there more we need to look into for this? Insurance, everything? Just curious.
Who wants to help me out? Teresa?
Thank you. That is something that staff are looking into currently. Thanks for the question, Councillor Hurlick. In terms of our special events, we do have a policy and procedures in place, and staff are looking at a more streamlined process and taking some of the parks into consideration as well.
Okay, Jerry, you had your hand up for a question.
Yes, thanks. So as Becky mentioned, the request has came to us in the past and we've granted it, correct?
Correct.
Correct, yes. So I move that we approve this request.
Okay, so I do have a motion. I'll read it out first, Jerry, that the Council of the Township of Perth East received the correspondence from Penny Steckley, Unit Guide, Milverton Girl Guide Unit, requested April 13, 2022 regarding request for the rental of Morningdale Centennial Park on May 27th to 29th for information. That Council approved the request from Penny Steckley allowing for the Milverton Girl Guide Unit to rent Morningdale Centennial Park on the requested dates for the purpose of camping, and that the certificate of insurance state that the corporation of the Township of Perth East be added as an additional insured. So moved by Jerry. We have a seconder, Jeremy. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, and our third item of correspondence is from Doreen and Carrie Kelterborn. They're requesting a privacy fence along the walkway from Pew Street to Yost Court, and I'm going to let Wes Skipfer take some comments about this. Wes?
Thank you. As council's aware, this was a section that we of land that the municipality owned, and we subdivided it into the lots and created a street called Yost Court. And on the end of the street, there was a sidewalk proposed to go to Pew Street. There was never a fence included in the subdivision agreement for this section. And it would be a council decision if anything was to happen. And I do caution that this would not be the only area that we would have in town if that was done. Thank you.
Okay, is there any questions on this, Daryl?
A bylaw, of course, would allow the owner to put a fence, correct? From what I'm understanding, Wes? Would that be something we'd organize with the township so it'd be aesthetically pleasing? I'm just curious.
The owner can put up a fence. There's nothing stopping the owner from putting up a fence.
Yeah. Great, okay.
Jerry?
Yes, this has been on my plate now for a couple of years since we've developed this project, and it's unfortunate that the fence was missed. I don't recall of any other areas around that we would have a fence. However, as the Kelderborns have wrote, they've lived there for a number of years, and it's great that we have development. But they do have people and whatever goes through their bicycles that are going through the walkway and looking right into their backyard. With typically these type of walkways will go through a side yard. So you're looking at the side of your house, not a lot of concern. People walk, the flow of traffic's pretty good. It's just that, again, they've had that for a number of years where there's been nobody, and now there's people walking and bicycles that are kind of looking at the backyard. So I would hope we could maybe help them in some way. I'm not sure. We all know the price of fencing and the materials these days, but I don't know if anyone has any other comments, but I have a motion that I would like to put on the floor. Mayor Higgins.
Anyone else with comments or questions? I guess I have a couple comments. First, how many more will want the township to put a fence up if we do this for them? I guess is my one thing. And we're not stopping the owners from putting a fence up. But anyway, Jerry, if you have a motion, we will entertain that first and see where that goes.
Sure. So I would like to see the Township Perth East work with the Caliborns to get the proper fence installed, and that the township would cover half of the cost. I'd like to make that as a motion.
And do we have a seconder for that? Daryl, you second it? I want a seconder before we have discussion. Okay, Daryl's seconding that motion. Is there any more? Andrew?
Yeah, I know to a public work manager's comment, I know of at least 300-foot fences that would probably be requested in Shakespeare. The Kelterborn family is a very well established, very well respected family in Perth East, and I would like to help them, but I don't be supporting this just because we have to think of, we want growth, and this is part of growth. More people, it's not vehicles, there's no somebody running up down there playing the bagpipes or anything like that. So I think we're just going to have to set this one aside for now. That's how I believe ordering. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Carol?
Just a little comment here. Of course, this is fresh development within the last years here. Traditionally speaking, I think to other municipalities, I have seen boarded fences when there's, a new cul-de-sac or a heavy walkway to a new area. I have seen boarded fences across backyards, and I'm just curious. I'd like to see, I'm kind of jostling in my head. I don't want to point fingers, but was there some planning missed? Was there a little bit missed, when this all took place, that we should have been covering a little better in regards to existing lots and privacy that was established that now was totally invaded by a new build in backyards? And is that something that planning may have overlooked or got away on us? Just curious. I'm not sure if anyone else has anything. It's a tough one. I do get their concern.
I think that should have been in the subdividers agreement, that there was going to be a fence, but there was a road there previous before the path went in. So there was always a road, there was always traffic, there was always the ability for people to walk across there before before what was there now, right? So now there is a trail or a path, and there was always a road there before. So there was always something there before. So I think if it wasn't put in the subdividers agreement, then it's not done. I don't know, Wes or Melissa popped on there. Do either one of you want to comment on that? Am I correct in my?
Yeah, through you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I have to apologize. I'm not really familiar with this lot and the situation. But typically, like subdivisions agreements, we're looking in great detail in these particular scenarios, like privacy and fencing, and everything that the township wants can and should be enforced or requested at the subdivision stage. That's where we're, circulating these applications and seeking like detailed feedback. So everything that the township wants, whenever there's an application, is the time to request that. And then all the requests can be incorporated. I'm not really sure what transpired here. and what the remedy would be at this stage. But this is something that is typically looked at beforehand or during circulation rather. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Jerry?
So
Go last. I'm sorry, you made the motion. I'll let you go last. Jeremy's got his hand up, so I'll go to him first.
Yeah, in reference to this specific subdivision, I believe we did require them to put fencing along the rear yard setbacks on all of the row houses there, if I'm not mistaken. So, whether this moves ahead or not tonight, I think it's just something for us to think about in the future, is that when there's in this case, we asked for the fence along the rear yard. We didn't ask for it along the rear yard of the neighbors where there's a walkway. That's kind of the out here. We didn't ask for it in this case, but I think where a walkway does go behind a house like that, like Jerry's point about it being right behind their house, there's usually a little less privacy in the rear yard. So that's why we ask for fences along the rest of that development, and why, we didn't ask for one here. But we need to consider that moving forward. I think whether or not this passes tonight is when there is a pathway going in as part of a subdivision, that we consider putting a walkway with a fence up.
Okay, anyone else with questions, comments? If not, I'll let Jerry have the last word.
yeah, so I do recall some of the discussion, but the planner Gessick's point there, nothing was ever in writing. I know I've talked with Public Works Kipfer there a few times about it as well, and nothing, we can never find nothing that was in writing. It's unfortunate because as Councilor Matheson pointed out, the fence is behind the 6 units. I'm looking at Google Maps right now, and if that entire fence line would have been brought right to Pew Street or to the cell tower and property of Mornington, we might not be here. With this letter might not have came, everything would have been satisfied. So again, I'm hoping we can do something for the Caliborns. And again, in the future, for sure, we need to cross our T's, dot our I's. Things happen, things have developed so quickly here in the township that, I'm not putting the blame on anyone here.
Okay, I'm gonna let Eric read the motion again, so everybody's clear on what it says before I call for the vote. So Eric, please.
Yeah, so that the council of the Township of Perth East received the correspondence from Doreen and Carrie Kelterborn, received April 13th, 2022, regarding a request for a privacy fence along the walkway from Pew Street East to Yost Court, Milverton for information, and that the township work with the property owners and cover half of the cost of the fence.
Okay, so everyone in favor of that motion? All those opposed? And it's defeated. Okay, so I do have a motion in front of me, and it's the Council of the Township of Perth East received the correspondence from Doreen and Carrie Kelderborn, received April 13, 2022, regarding requests for a privacy fence along the walkway from Pew Street East to Yost Court, Overton for information. I have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Andrew. Second by Amanda. Is there any more comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we're moving on to council and committee reports. I don't have anything at this time. My meeting log will come next month. Is there anyone who wants to give any committee reports tonight? Jerry?
Not necessarily a committee. I was unable to attend the library, so perhaps Deputy Mayor McDermott could update on that. Last week I attended the Good Roads conference in Toronto. Very, very good sessions. It was nice to get back together in person. I attended a number of sessions. The Nuclear Waste Management Organization, they're looking at transporting the old nuclear fuel waste in the next 20 years, less than that. Obviously, there's no site picked yet, but the transporting of it, and they're planning it's potential that it could come through our township. So that's something I was interested in. A very good presentation by Chief Cadmus DeLorme, who is the chief of the Cowesses First Nation out in Regina. Spoke about reconciliation and the discovery of unmarked graves that were pretty close to his territory. So that was very good, good presentation and quite emotional as well. Enbridge did announce that the renewable natural gas project, their partnership with Ontario Waste, looking to get a number of waste disposal trucks fitted with the renewable natural gas across the province. A company called Iris gave us a good presentation on the cameras that they have. They put them in different municipal trucks, be it waste, be it public works, and they take pictures and real time video of all your assets on your street. A lot of talk about smart communities, using technologies. A lot of talk about new transportation, of course, electric vehicles, infrastructure projects, and all four of the provincial leaders were in attendance, whether virtual or there. Had a number of good presentations. So overall, I was quite impressed with the Good Roads conference last week, and there's a number of things that I'm going to send all of council once they get everything posted. But that's my report from the conference.
Great, thanks, Jerry. Anyone else? Reports? I'm sorry, I do have one I missed. So this afternoon, I attended a Zoom meeting, and it was on the announcement of broadband subsidy application that Mornington Communications applied for in 2021. And this is going to bring fiber optic to many underserviced rural premises in Perth East. And they're estimating that they're going to go by about 1,300 homes in Perth East that they're going to be connected up to fiber. So this afternoon, I was part of a conference call with two of the ministers, and they made that announcement. So that's great news for Perth East. We've got more fiber coming to our communities. So if that's all the reports, then we need a motion that the verbal reports by members of council, by Councillor Jerry Smith for Good Roads and myself for the fiber. We need someone to move that those be received for information. Moved by Jeremy. Second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have some bylaws. We have 4, I believe. Yep, 4 bylaws that are to be read first, second, third, and final time. We have bylaw 21-22, bylaw to authorize the signing of the memorandum of understanding with the Perth East Public Library. We have bylaw 22-2022, authorize the signing of funding agreement with the Mornington Optimist Club, the Overton All Wheels Park Committee. Bylaw 23-2022 to authorize signing of a funding agreement with Shakespeare Optimist Park. And bylaw 2201-2022 to amend bylaw 30-1999. And this is for part of lot 5, concession 11, Ellis Ward, 4188, line 46. And that was item 7.1.1 on our agenda. So if I could have someone move that these bylaws be read the first, second, third, and final time. Moved by Hugh, second by Daryl. All in favor? Carried. Okay, we do have a need for a closed session. So with your permission, we will move that down in our agenda to after announcements. So do we have any notice of motions? We have 2 items for new business. We had 2 presentations tonight. The first one was that Council of the Township of Perth East received the presentation by Jeff Barton, Energy and Asset Service Manager, Local Authority Services, LAS, Association of Municipalities of Ontario, AMO Business Services, Canoe Procurement Group of Canada for information. We have a mover and a seconder for that. Moved by Jeremy, second by Hugh. All in favor? Carried. And the second delegation was from Warren Howard. I know there was some questions for that. So far, we're just receiving it for information. Is there any more information that you would like staff to bring back on this? Andrew?
So it sounds like we don't have any zoning for this type of thing right now. So maybe it would be good to look at some zoning using best practices described by Mr. Howard possibly, and others what staff feels is appropriate. Basically a draft zoning bylaw to cover wind turbines. That would be my comment. How you want to word that, I don't know, but maybe a draft report might be a draft zoning bylaw. I'm not sure if there's a study has to be done, an official study, or how that works, but we might as well move ahead on this. We know the feeling of the ratepayers on it, the majority of the ratepayers, so we might as well move ahead.
Okay, Melissa, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So yes, certainly we can possibly maybe for starters prepare some background information. I think whatever approach this council chooses or recommendations that I'm going to be putting forward have to be, we kind of have to rely on some metrics and some best kind of case examples out there. I think we can't be really partial here. So whatever studies are out there or examples from other municipalities, we can certainly pull that together and present it to council for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. Daryl?
No, I'll just add some additional comment there. Yes, we're running quite loose here, and of course, as a council in general, we have to do our due diligence and best practice. I understand that it's something we need to be aware of. However, the wind turbine issue is something that, what do I want to say, is very gray, and a lot of specialists tend to favor for it, and in town they come and then you're left with the mess. We need to treat this very serious, I want to say, and us as council, I don't want to put words in any mouth, but we need to be very, very due diligent on this. And I believe we should make this a little quicker than later. Let's be honest, we're going to be into a new council before we know it. I know right now, if I were to drive up and down the road, I probably wouldn't find one person in favor. That being said, there's a lot of investment money floating around buying farms these days. And I know how this goes if it's not handled quick and proactively. So I'm very supportive of Councillor McAlpine on this. We need to act on this. Thank you.
Amanda?
So two points. So one, I'm in favor of Councillor McAlpine's point. We need staff to bring forward a draft bylaw for consideration. That's sort of the immediate. The other is, given that we are in the process of updating the county's official plan, what can we do to, obviously we have our county representatives that sit on county, but is there anything we can do to signal to county that this is something that we would like to see updated and revised? Because I think to Warren's point earlier, we kind of have our hands tied based on the way that the official plan is currently written. And I know that, from the planning point of view, like we have to, look at, what has been done elsewhere. I can tell you that there's other places that do not make those statements. And so I think you know, we really need to show united front on that as well, in terms of ensuring that that those updates are made, and that, I guess, the wishes of this council are heard at the county level. So I think it's twofold. I think it's what we can do to control, like what's in our control currently, which is the bylaw, which currently does not exist. And two, we need to make our wishes known and stated at county, that this is something that needs to be addressed, and directed to staff.
Okay, so I think if we pass a motion tonight, receive it for information and ask staff to bring back more information for Perth East. And then when we get to county on Thursday, as long as county votes for it to go ahead, which I'm hoping it will, then Hugh and Daryl and I can state where Perth East's position is, if that's okay. That we want something done sooner than later, and that right away, if that's possible. Is that what you would like to do, or someone else have another suggestion of what they want done? Amanda, is that good with you? You're the one.
I'm fine with that, Rhonda. I think that the sense that I'm getting from you and Daryl and Hugh is that we're pretty united on what needs to take place at the county level. So you guys are our reps at county. So I think I'm fine with that approach, Rhonda.
Okay, Andrew?
No, that's a good point, Councillor Broadhead brought up for sure about the OP. So this will, the draft bylaw or the information we get back will be to Perth East, correct? This will be direction to our staff, not to planning or county planning.
Through you, Madam Mayor, if I can chime in. Yeah, so zoning provisions are very specific, and we're going to be dealing eventually. I think we have to do some background research first in terms of what others have done, in terms of whether there are other municipalities are requesting noise studies as a right. We can certainly put that, for example, in our bylaw, or noise levels to not exceed certain levels. So, you know, when we're talking about like site-specific parameters and setbacks, that sort of metrics may be difficult to know, because each and every situation is different. But you know, the official plan policy is in the process of being updated at the moment. And my understanding is that Mr. Howard will be presenting this, the same presentation will be, you know, in front of county council. And certainly Mr. Howard will be soliciting feedback and seeking, you know, proper updates or kind of updates to the section of the OP which deals with like wind turbines. But at the moment, as far as I can tell, there's no specific direction from the PPS in terms of these wind turbines. And the only thing that the PPS says is that alternative modes of energy production and delivery are encouraged, but the specifics of these installations, that's not in the PPS, and it's certainly not in the official plan at the moment. And I think it'll be left deliberately vague, because the intent of the OP is not to be overly prescriptive. It's up to each and every municipality to decide how they want to approach this. Like I said, there already is a provision in the official plan which says that each and every municipality can enact its own provisions for pertaining to wind turbines.
Okay, so if we have a motion that says the Council of Township of Perth East receive the presentation from Warren Howard, Elma Mornington, concerned citizens updating municipal zoning related to wind turbines for information, and that staff bring back a report with more information. Is that Jeremy? Are you moving?
I thought someone else had moved. I was seconding, but I'll move if no one else did.
Okay, so moved by Jeremy, second by Amanda. Carol?
Yeah, I'd like that to read that staff bring back more information and to take consideration of Mr. Howard's advice on this evening's council.
And is that all right with the mover and the seconder to add that comment? Jeremy and Amanda?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure about, the validity of all of the information there. I didn't dig deep into every one of those statements that were made. As long as we're, believing the entire thing, then I'm fine with that.
Okay, so let staff bring back more information and look into advice from Mr. Howard. Jerry?
So does this change our position that we declared 214 or 13 that Perth East was an unwilling host?
I don't believe so.
It sounds like we're still unwilling, but it's eventually going to come with some zoning.
Yeah, I think that motion still stands until that would be reconsidered. So to me, that motion is still there, that we are an unwilling host. And I think what's going to happen now is Melissa's going to bring us back some more information on the zoning to make sure that if someone does want to put a turbine in, we have things set where we want them to be in Perth East.
Thank you.
That's my undertaking. Jeremy?
Yeah, and the reason, I think Warren alluded to that earlier, the reason we did make the unwilling host statement at the time was because we had our hands tied and had no control over where these things were going. We didn't even have the ability to put a bylaw in place to govern them, or if we did, it wouldn't have held any merit. So that's why we made the statement that we did at the time.
Yeah. Okay, so all in favor of that motion? Carried. Okay, great. We're going to move on. Thanks, Melissa, for coming back. We're going to move on to announcements. Or anybody else have any new business? Sorry, I'll back up a wee bit. We'll move on to announcements. I do have one. There was candidate information nights. One was hosted by Perth East, and it was on April the 6th. And the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing did that one. And there was also one on April the 13th. And it was, you want to run for council. The speaker was Fred Dean. If anyone would like to listen to them, there was some great information that came out that night. So if you're considering running for council again, it would be a great opportunity. If you go to the Perth East website, you can bring those items up those 2 nights. It was very informative. I've been on council a long time, and you always, no matter what you do, you always learn something new. So it was great, great information both nights. And we thank Eric and his group. They looked after the one here in Perth East, and that was very much appreciated. So, okay, anything else, Jerry?
A couple announcements of some dates. We don't meet again until after May 3rd. So May 1st is the Milverton Firefighters Pre-Mother's Day breakfast at the fire hall, 8 till 1. So it'll be good to get breakfast to everyone again. And looking ahead, the Milverton Fire Department, now the Perth East Fire Department, Milverton Station, is celebrating 100 years this year. So I'm actually the chair of our organizing committee. So that event is taking place September 23rd, 24th of this year. So look for some things for that, some special invites, a few things, a parade, water games. It's all in the planning stages. So mark your calendars for that. So 100 years for Milverton Fires.
Wow, congratulations. That's great. Okay, anyone else with announcements? If not, we do have a need for a closed session. So the regular meeting of council of the Township of Perth East be temporarily adjourned at, where's my clock, 8:50 p.m. to permit the holding of a meeting in closed session for the purpose of the security of property of the municipality or local board, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board. We need a mover and a seconder to go into closed session. Moved by Hugh. Second by Barry. All in favor? carried. So to all those who aren't coming to close session with us, thank you very much. Great to see everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we'll see you all again. Have a good night. Bye. Okay, I think we will resume that the Council of the Township of Perth East rise from the closed session and reconvene to regular session at 9:32. Moved by Andrew. Second by Jerry. All in favor? Carried. And we have a motion that the bylaw number 24-2022 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Township of Perth East at its regular meeting held on April the 19th, 2022, be read a first, second, and third time. Moved by Hugh. Second by Amanda. All those in favor? Carried. And that the meeting of the council be adjourned at 9:32. Moved by Andrew. Second by Jeremy. All in favor? Carried.